Okay, so thank you, Dr. Therrien, for agreeing to meet with us today and talk about your experiences with eConsult. We really appreciate everything that you're going to share and all the insight you have to offer. Before we get started with that conversation, though, I just want to share a little bit about your eConsult experience thus far. So you have been using eConsult since January of 2018, and since that start date, you have sent a grand total of 429 eConsults through the service, which is an incredible number. But the number that really stands out to us is the amount of eConsults that you have sent in the past fiscal year for 2021 to 2022, which was 161 eConsults. So not only does this put you within our top 5 in the Southeast for the second year in a row, but it also puts you among the top 10 eConsult senders within the entire province of Ontario. So some amazing work is being done in terms of your adoption and the way that you embrace eConsult within your practice. And we're very excited to learn about how you are doing that and your experience overall.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know how I'd practice medicine. It's one of those things that once you start using it, you can't imagine having a practice without it. So as you can see, I definitely use it a lot, and I don't know that that's something to be congratulated. Yeah, I often wonder, maybe if I had more knowledge in my brain, then I wouldn't have to do it quite this much. But no, I can't imagine practicing without it. So
that's wonderful to hear. So one of the first questions we have for you is we'd love to know how you got started with eConsult.
Good question.
Several years, and we just want to know how you got introduced to it and how you kind of hit the
ground. Yeah, I think way back in 2018, was it not? It was a pilot, I believe, and I can't remember how at the time before it. I don't even know. I think it might have been at a CME, a Queen CME, I believe. Vaguely recall, and they were promoting it at the CMEs and telling people to sign up. They used to have a little booth, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's probably how it started.
Okay, wonderful. And then in terms of incorporating eConsult into your workflow and practice, I know you said you are using it quite frequently. So what are some of the ways that you've taken eConsult and made it as part of your regular patient care management, or just how you practice medicine in general?
It's just this amazing option, particularly in the time of COVID, that I can get people answers in a timely manner with usually a local expert, and usually those experts are really amazingly, grateful for the consultation, and also they're often they go out of their way to then say, if you have any problems, please let me know, and I can see them directly in clinic. So it's a resource that, as I said, I can't do without at this point. For dermatology, particularly, with long wait times. It's been spectacular. So I use it all the time for a lot of my derm questions, and follow-up. I've been using a little bit more for my radiology follow-up recently, and for example, this week I had one where the radiologist said, follow-up CT, chest as indicated, and I faxed the radiologist back 4 times saying, when do you want me to set this up? And she didn't reply, and then I shot it off to OTN radiology, and he answered me within 24 hours and said, great question, you need to do it in 3 months. So yeah, that's just an example of something that happened in the last week.
Oh, that's amazing. I was wondering if you could describe for us in a little bit more detail the workflow. So a patient comes through deciding that eConsult is the right course of action. Yep. How are you practicing this? We've had some providers that have told us they do this at the end of their workday.
Yes, I do. I don't do it in the middle of my workday. It's, for example, for dermatology, let's say I take some photos and I email myself the photo, and then I do it at the end of the day where I can upload all the photos and copy and paste all the past medical history and the medication. So it does take some time. So that is, I do it at the end of my day.
Okay, wonderful. And then when you are meeting with a patient and you've decided that eConsult is something that you like to move forward with, do you explain what eConsult is to your patient and that you want to be receiving that consultation?
Yep. I usually just say, I keep it simple. I just say that I have this resource where I can basically email a picture of your rash, and I will get the results back in less than 7 days, and usually quicker than that.
Oh,
And they're thrilled that they don't have to travel or wait 9 months to be seen.
yeah, we find that reducing the wait times is definitely one of the major facilitators of using eConsult as a whole. Aside from that, though, have there been any other facilitators or barriers to using the service that you've experienced?
No, other than just the time at the end of the day to do it, but that's no different than anything else that I have to do. So no, it's just yet another referral that I do, and it's just a different approach to doing it. But no, there's no other barriers. I love it. I mean, I guess if it was directly integrated into Oscar, that would be a huge advantage. But I suspect that'll come with time potentially.
Yeah, and then another question regarding the workflow. So some of our primary care providers in the Southeast have administrative staff or delegates that are helping support them in sending their e-consults. Is that something that you were taking advantage of, or are you the person
No,
who's doing that yourself?
no, I do it all myself. Yeah, the girls are completely overwhelmed at all times anyway, so I couldn't imagine them doing this as well.
Wonderful. Danielle, I saw you came off mute if you'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're using Oscar, which is interesting to know. My question was, I guess, again, around workflow. So it sounds like what happens is at the end of the day, when you're figuring out what needs to happen, next steps with respect to your patients, you're going ahead personally and entering those eConsult questions into OTN. I guess you currently face the aggravation of having to step out of your EMR and go onto the internet to key in the information and move things over. Which is, I know we've heard a pain point for some physicians. Can you talk about a little bit about how you manage that?
I mean, it's just another piece of my day. I mean, it's really, I mean, for what I get from it, I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, oh my God, I'm getting the amount of information that I learn and the connections with a local specialist. It's not something that I would go out of my way to complain about. It's just one more thing in my day that's a little bit, you just have to think a bit laterally and put aside the appropriate time. It's fine for what I get back. It's worth every minute that I spend doing it. Yeah.
And you mentioned there just briefly about making a connection with local specialists through eConsult. Do you find now that you're reaching directly out to those individuals as opposed to going to dermatology? Are you contacting Dr. Mullen, for example, or like?
No, it's a good question. I haven't been doing a direct to person unless that person has seen them before, because I just don't know. I don't know. I just didn't want to have to put something else on their plate. If I don't know. I kind of feel like if I do it to a provincial intake, then it'll be triaged to whoever has time for it, whoever is next up in the queue. And I didn't want to put something on Moline's plate that, if she's just back from holiday and she has 50 things to do and she wasn't planning on doing an OTN, I wouldn't want to overstep and ask something just because I know her name. So I haven't been doing that. The only time I ever do it is if they've seen this patient prior to.
One of the other things that we heard through our eConsult webinar series this, I guess, winter, spring, is that it's a good way to prepare patients for that visit with specialists. Do you find that within your practice that you've used it that way?
No, I don't usually use it in that way. If I know I'm referring someone, then I just refer them. I use this primarily for, I mean, I'd love to, I like to use it so that hopefully I can make it so people don't have to see the specialist. Very rarely they say, no, I need to see them. But no, I primarily use it for diagnostic elucidation and ideally confirming that they do not have to be seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that we heard was that there can often be co-management of patients using eConsult, where you're going back and forth with the specialist throughout a period of time regarding how to best manage the patients. You find that's helping? Or you're using it in that way, I should say.
Kind of. I don't do a lot of back and forth, actually. If I already have a connection with the psychiatrist or whoever, I usually just fax them directly from my EMR and say, Dr. Rashatuka, so you saw so-and-so 2 weeks ago. I did this. It didn't work. What do you want me to do? I tend to do that. I don't do that through OTN. I do that directly.
Interesting.
But the problem with that is then I have to, the beautiful thing about OTN is that often these guys, I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to get back to me. And then I leave it in my inbox and I keep looking at it every day saying, okay, have they gotten back? Oh, they haven't gotten back to me. I'll refax that. So the beautiful thing about OTN is I know someone is going to respond to me.
Right.
So I haven't been using it like that, but I suppose theoretically I could.
Right. Well, it's really interesting to have a conversation and learn how people are using eConsult and what's working successfully.
Yeah.
So in terms of your specialists that you seem to be using the tool most for, so you talked about dermatology, you spoke briefly about radiology. Are there others that would sort of hit your top 5 list?
Oh God, I bet you guys could tell me that better than me. Oh, maybe some peds. Oh, I've just been loving taking videos of some pediatric neurological questions, and you send the video in and it's just golden, or even like an unusual tremor in a woman. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And I took the video and I had her do a variety of things and sent that into the
Neurology?
Having a brain fart in the same
movement disorders group.
Yeah,
maybe.
thank you, that guy. And it's just amazing. He sent this, 2-page description. And the other beautiful thing about derm and neuro is I send them this video because God knows I couldn't describe it. And then they write back a complete, beautiful description of exactly what the rash looks like, what the tremor looks like, how you would describe it. So again, it's education for me, and everybody wins. I don't know if they win, but I win. So yeah, the videos I've been using more of it, and I really love.
Excellent.
That's incredible. So you've spoken a lot about the value that you've received from engaging in eConsults in terms of, just the opportunity to learn more and converse with specialists. And you spoke about the wonderful responses you've received from neuro. In terms of your continuing education, do you find that some of the resources you receive from specialists are things that you are revisiting and maybe have prevented you from sending the same question?
No question. And I can vaguely remember, back when I didn't have 429 consults back when I had smaller amounts, I would go through and scroll through until I saw that, ENT, can you tell me how to clean out earwax in an autistic little boy that I can't get in there, and that was from way back in 2019. And I used to be able to scroll through and find that consult, print it out for the recipe and remind myself of it. At this point, I could never scroll back and find that. So I don't know if that's a searchable option eventually on OTN where I could, look at all old consults and put in earwax autism and find it, but that's just something to think about. I can't imagine that's something that could be done. But anyway, that would be the only pie in the sky wish that I might have.
In terms of the search function, that is definitely something that I could take back and find out for you. I'm not quite sure in terms of the specifics and how you can search, and especially considering the details of the case. But it's definitely something that I'd love to learn more about. And it's great to know that you're revisiting older eConsults to inform current patient care or future needs. So that's wonderful as well. I guess that kind of leads me into my next question. Just kind of continuing on the theme of value is, how are you defining value or measure value within your practice, and how does eConsult help enhance that?
Yeah, so patient satisfaction in terms of wait times and information for them, and security that they've basically been quote unquote assessed by a specialist, and it's not just me pulling something out of my ear. And then obviously job satisfaction for me. I feel like I've crossed the I's and dotted the T's and done my due diligence in terms of confirming the diagnosis that I thought it was, or the workup that I was envisioning. So kind of medical legally, it's a bit of defensive medicine as well on my end, which is also helps me sleep at night. So there's just lots of aspects of how it helps me and the patient, feel better about my day-to-day work, I guess.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And then the next question I have for you is, how would you describe eConsult to another provider? So we have a lot of primary care providers in the Southeast who are just getting started with eConsult or haven't really delved into the tool as in depth as you have. So if you had any recommendations or advice for someone who's just getting started with eConsult or is still very new to the idea, if there's anything you'd like to share with them.
I would probably promote more the timeliness of it, the fact that you can also you can individualize the advice that you're going to get, and you can have a lot of back and forth. I think that's really key. So, sometimes they give me advice, and again, the fact that I can then reply back to them and say, can you just clarify X, Y, and Z? So the fact that it is a little bit back and forth, it is very individualized to your specific patients. And the other really nice thing about it is that they occasionally have said to me, oh, I was able to find that Holter monitor through whatever the KGH online platform is that I don't have. I was able to look at the most recent blood work. I was able to look at their discharge summary. That is, again, that's golden, so, and again, the other big thing that I would promote is the fact that you can be in contact with your local specialists and get to know them, and they get to know you. And as I said, often they will offer to see your patient if things don't go as they hoped. So I think, I'd probably just mention those 4 or 5 things: the timeliness, the satisfaction for you and the patient, connection with local specialists, and the ability to kind of establish a relationship, a back and forth communication related to your patient that can continue even after the fact. You can send an eConsult a couple months later if you need to, which I've done as well.
Oh, that's good. So you've it's being used as like, you're including eConsult in your circle of care, and one of those tools that just helps continue patient care management. That's incredible to hear.
Yeah. The continuity is amazing too. Yeah.
That is the questions that I have. Danielle or Heidi, if any of you have any questions for Dr. Therrien.
It's just when you're sitting there at the end of the day and you're sending those eConsults, how much time is it taking you to send an eConsult?
Yeah, it depends on it. If it's a quickie, here's a rash, no, child pediatric rash, no past medical history. I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, 10, again, downloading it, no, probably 10 minutes. If it's a deeper one, then I'll, it'll be at the very end of my day in endocrinology or cardiology, and I have to, download all the x-rays and the blood work and all that kind of stuff. That can take longer, 20 minutes maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just it's useful to understand how much time it takes, depending obviously on the complexity of the question that you're hoping to get some answers to or advice with in terms of the management of the patient. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you, you guys. Thank you. And you guys are doing amazing work. Yes, I don't know what I'd be without this, honestly. Yeah, so thank you.
Perfect. Well, that's wonderful. We really appreciate, Dr. Therrien, you taking the time today to talk about eConsult and share all those wonderful tidbits of knowledge and all of your experience. Like we said, you were in our top 5 for the 2nd consecutive year in a row, and really embracing eConsult within the Southeast. So it's great to learn from you, and we're going to be able to share this information with other primary care providers in the region, and hopefully province-wide eventually as well. So we cannot thank you enough for taking this time with us today.
Thanks, guys, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You as well.